It's the weekly show about rAVe with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's rAVe TV. Give it up for Steph and Gary. Steph and Gary.
Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday, everyone. I am Steph Beckett. This is Gary K, and you are watching rAVe TV live every Wednesday at noon Eastern. Gary, you are out of captivity. You are feeling free and healthy. And so, where are you?
I was lucky to be free and healthy in time to come to the Future of Everything festival here in New York City. I'm actually coming to you live. There's a picture of me and my daughter. My daughter joined me at the. It's been kind of like a dream of ours to come to this festival for many years, and of course the pandemic canceled it. I'm sitting on a rooftop right now where the conference is, right there. You can see beautiful New York City skyline, and you can see my daughter here sitting next to me.
Hey, Annabelle.
And so forgive my internet because we are coming to you from rooftop internet, but we'll do the best we can.
Okay, sounds good. Well, yeah, that sounds like you're having a good conference. So tell me, what are some highlights?
Well, we had a fashion designer earlier today. We had a technologist, but my favorite session, and someone who was really, really articulate, I was really impressed with, was Logan Paul, who's a big influencer, as you know, on YouTube and all the different platforms on social media. But the key is, and you'll see this printed in the papers tomorrow, at this conference, he announced he's running for president in 2032. This is when he'll be eligible because he's only 27 right now. So he's not eligible yet, but he literally was serious about it. So it'll be in the papers tomorrow. But he's he's an interesting guy. I've never been that impressed with him until I met him and saw him in person. I mean, he's very articulate, clearly very smart.
Right.
Different than his brother, I think, is a little bit more out there. But his NFT project is interesting. That's always been curious. The 99 originals. He sold all 99 originals. It's a fundraiser. They've raised over $100 million so far. The 100 original NFT Polaroids that he took of his world travels over the last few years. And he's one of the most successful NFT entrepreneurs in the world.
The list of successful NFT entrepreneurs is so interesting because it's like him, Paris Hilton, and like a few other people, and I'm just kind of like, and
a student at UNC,
and I'm kind of like, that's never who I would imagine to all be successful at this. This is quite a dinner party that we've collected.
I would try to do this without my sunglasses on, but I have to squint.
That's
so
okay.
I'm take them on and off.
If you need to put them back on, you'll just look like you're in the Secret Service. It's cool.
I'm excited to be here. I'm honored to be here, and I'm excited to still be on rAVe TV. We had a lot of news. I mean, Steph, I have to say thank you to you and Emily. Y'all got up at 4:00 in the morning to do ISC replay ISC, which is our after every major show we do an event the week after where we curate all the critical coverage. All the things that we saw were the most interesting coverage for the week. And the first was done at 5:00 this morning because we're doing it on European time. So the Europeans don't have to stay awake. And then we're going to do another session. Steph, you're getting ready to do another one, aren't you?
Yep, at 2 Eastern, and it will be 11 a.m. Pacific. So
there's a couple ways to watch that. You can go to my LinkedIn profile, go to linkedin.com, search my name. Or go to launch, LAVNCH, and register. You just go to LAVNCH, you'll see it there. Or at 2:00, you could theoretically go to launch and just click the live now button and then pop you in there if you're already a member of launch. If not, go to my LinkedIn profile. Are we showing anywhere else, Steph?
I think it's just those two. But I think it'll be a good session.
Curated coverage. It's great curated coverage, I will tell you, because we went through and watched all the videos that were all available to us at the time. We picked, probably 20 or so new product videos, products that have not been seen before. These are organic picks. They're not sponsors of what we thought were the best products out there. We also talk about the best trends, tech trends at the event. There were, people said online, Steph, there were comments online about people saying that there wasn't really new technologies there. Yet we found 15 major tech trends while we were there at the show, and I know y'all review those.
Yeah, I talked about that with Emily earlier this morning, and I'm sure we'll touch on it this afternoon as well. But I was kind of like, when we did rAVe TV last week, I was kind of like, yeah, I don't really see anything new. But I think it was because I just hadn't spent enough time on the show floor yet that week. Because the more time I spent, the more I was like, wait, this is new. This is new.
Yeah.
They just developed a patent for that. This is
Yeah,
new.
I mean,
so,
and even some technological implications. Like, for example, Biamp announced today, as an example, that they've stripped Dante out of all their Dante amplifiers and they're going to ship them without Dante. I mean, like, things like that are things that people need to know, because you can't get Dante chips, but they still want to ship the amplifiers. People are going to find a different way to go AV over IP than Dante, because Dante is going to have a delay. It looks like Dante's problems are going to last through the early fall. So this is going to be an issue. You're going to see all the brands do this.
Exactly.
And I think that's the kind of news that we have to get out there. That's why we are so good at this, is that we don't just talk about just new products and people. We talk about the things that impact, customers in the industry, but also integrators in the industry, to make sure they make money. This is the kind of things we're watching all the time. So I think that's breaking news, is that, Biamp's going to do that. So I want you to watch replay today at 2:00. Go to my LinkedIn profile. Please watch replay with Steph, Beckett, and Emily Dean. And the reason why Emily's doing it is obvious, because I wasn't there because of COVID, and Emily filled in. And of course, between Emily and Steph, they did all the interviews on the show floor, and they spent the most time on the show floor.
Yeah, it'll be great. And we also wanted to just briefly talk about InfoComm 2022. If you're planning to join June 8th through 10th and you haven't registered yet for whatever reason, please, you can go and to infocommshow.org, I believe, and you can register with the code rAVE, capital RAVE, and you will get a free hall pass. So that automatically saves you $400. So that is perfect.
And we want you to use our code. If you do, they're going to give us the list of people who use the code. We're going to send you, even if you're not going, we're going to send you our rAVe giveaway t-shirt that we're going to do at the show. So use our code and we will send you a rAVe t-shirt. If you're at the show, just come by and find a rAVe person. We'll give you a thing, or play the game. Actually, play the game somewhere on the show floor. But we're going to give away our shirts in the Snap One booth at InfoComm. I'm excited about it. We'll talk about more of our InfoComm.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
we will.
There's
plenty of time to talk about InfoComm, which I'm very excited about. This is a busy show season. But I did want to just go ahead and stepping back to ISE for a second, 43,600 attendees. That is absolutely amazing. Like, just look at this picture. That is busy.
You shot, Steph, along with 7 other people that were there, 1,202 photos on the show floor, all 1,202 photos. If you want to see what the show looked like, go to ravepubs.com/ISE 2022. Go to our microsite. There's a tab that says photos. You can see 1,200 photos from the show floor. You will see that show was busy. You will see that show was not lame. All the online negative trolls that are out there that are saying it was a bad show, or saying that by the way, I'm gonna have Mike Blackman on a video cast coming up talking about this, because there's a lot of haters out there saying stuff like, well, ISE gave away free booths, that's why manufacturers show up, or ISE gave away influencer tickets for influencers to fly there. Mike Blackman, who's in charge of ISE, categorically denies that and says that none of that free stuff happened. So those 43,000 people who organically attended. Now, that's 25,000 less than 2019, but it's about the same as 2020. So I'm very happy with that. I didn't hear any manufacturers complaining. Have you?
I didn't either. No, ever. I talked to so many on the show floor, whether they were sponsors of ours or just just regular manufacturers that I went up and took videos of. And I asked everyone how the show was going for them, and most said it was going well. The only few people who had said it wasn't going quite well for them were people who were not necessarily in the AV space. So there were a few who were like, we're more just live events. Like, we're not really live events AV. We're just like more on the live event side. And this is our first AV show. And so, we haven't gotten as many visits to our stand as we'd want. But we're hoping that as we continue to show, more will come to us, because they just don't know our brand yet. But that's not a show issue. That's just kind of
I also think that one part of that is a lot of the live events people were finally busy again, so they didn't have time to go to the show. I mean, I think that's probably not the best.
And that was also another. That was another thing that I heard, was that a lot of the live events hall was a little smaller, and a lot of the reason was because if the live events people purchased a stand, there was no one to man it. There was no one to physically be at the stand because they were all working. So, that's a kind of a good problem to have. I'm really happy that the live events section of our industry is picking back up. But yeah, so before we continue on with talking about everything, I did want to talk about, because we brought this up with Logitech when I did an interview with them, but they are a $5.5 billion U.S. company now. So they have grown and grown and grown.
They've almost doubled in size in the last couple of years.
Yes.
And they benefit from people working from home. People needed mics, people needed cameras, people needed UC gear, and they benefited from that. And you did some great interviews. By the way, if you want to watch them, new product interviews, Steph's interview, go to ravepubs.com/ISE 2022, type in Logitech in the video search window. You can see all those interviews and also product videos. And I think, if I remember, Emily did a stand tour as well, which was interesting, because she was like, in parts of it on her knees, because they had these like tables where they had product really, really low down and at the desk, and they didn't have any chairs. So but she goes around and shows everything. And so check out all those, in the interview videos from Steph, the product tour, the product tour videos, and the individual product videos are all at ravepubs.com/ISE 2022. But I'll tell you, they're a good indicator that our industry is healthy. And another good indicator is Shure. By the way, Shure was at ISE and introduced they actually broke the news on our show last week, a couple weeks ago, by the way, the MX8 920 replacing the 910. We have a spot on that, don't we?
Yep, and we are going to show a little bit of the booth tour with them right now.
Yeah, we shot that at ISE. That's right.
I think the most important thing, which actually we only announced last week, is the new MXA 920, which is the flagship ceiling array microphone, kind of like the top of the range of our Microflex ecosystem. And it brings in a whole bunch of really new software capabilities, not only to make it a lot easier to set up, but also to really offer much superior sound performance than prior generations of the product. So it's a real leap forward, and we're very excited about having that here. So the aesthetics is actually really important, because when people are designing conference spaces and meeting rooms, they're not just thinking about the audio. In fact, sometimes they don't necessarily think about the audio at all. But so what we want to do is make sure there's things which are architecturally beautiful, but also actually very easy to deploy. So with the 920, it has this capability where not only can you just put it into the ceiling and it covers a 30 by 30 space, it can be mounted and suspended in a whole variety of different ways. But out of the box, it will cover a 30 by 30 space. You don't need to do any configuration at all. However, if you want to, unlike the 910, you can actually just set zones. You don't have to aim beams. You just say, this piece of the room I want to be covered. Let's say a presentation lectern. Or you say, okay, I want to cover the meeting room table at this end, or I want to make sure the CEO at the end, he's got his own zone. You just draw a square, boom, that's it. It is absolutely the simplest thing. If you want to go in and do like really, really fine-tune things, you can. You can actually go in underneath the hood and fine-tune things to your heart's content. So, an AV Pro can geek out on it. Absolutely, be our guest. But also, but you can actually put them in, and it will work magnificently. One of the interesting things is you can actually use it. If you can create a zone and then mute it, and it will actually kill any sound whatsoever coming from that area. So, for example, if you had a meeting room where, let's say, you're having a working lunch and you want to mute the counter where people are getting their chip packets or whatever, you can actually zone that out, and people walk out into that zone. You won't hear a thing. Whereas all the conversation around the table in the meeting can carry on as normal. So again, it's all about delivering delightful user experiences, so people really feel they're in the room. And I went.
So
you did an amazing job at that stuff.
Thank you. As you could tell, I was having the time of my life at the Shure stand. That entire booth tour, they had such a big stand and they were showing so many things. The entire booth tour is like 20 minutes, and Abby Ashford took the video, and by the end I knew she absolutely was ready to kill me, because she was like, come on, we got other things to do. And I was like, but I want to look over here at the live event stuff. And she was like, come on.
Of course. I love booth tours. I love them. I hope we keep doing more and more of them. And speaking of booths, CEDIA, the registration is open for CEDIA as well.
Yes.
I don't know if you realize that CEDIA, the big residential AV show, which happens at the end of September this year, the latest they've ever had this show.
Yeah.
And the registration is open. You go to our website right now and you go to ravepubs.com, read the story. And we actually have a code that you can use for registration on that website as well.
Perfect. I'm so looking forward to it. I had such a lovely time at CEDIA last year. It was kind of like my first show back after so long. I
think it's in Dallas, right? Is it Dallas this year?
Yes, it's Dallas this year. So I'm looking very forward to it. I love Dallas. So
been a long time since I've done a show in Dallas.
Last
time I did a show in Dallas at the convention center,
mm-hmm.
They had an ice storm. It was back in 1992, 93, 94, somewhere in that range. So that's how long it's been. I'm excited to go back to Dallas. I love the city.
I do too.
Great food.
I'm ready to eat some brisket, boy.
Brisket. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I really like
what's
brisket.
Next step? What else is out there?
So tell me, Barco joined the AIMS Alliance, right? So
Huge news.
This is giant. So Barco is now supporting the Ipmx standard.
The proposed standard, yeah. So basically, This is a giant step for them. So for those of you who don't know, there's a proposed AV over IP standard from an organization called the AIMS Alliance. They've got about 40 companies, mostly from the broadcast industry. Thompson and big Sony, big broadcast companies, but also Matrox, companies like that. They've proposed a standard for AV over IP called Ipmx, which is based on 1 gig. So lowest resolution distribution of 4K and 1080p content around, pro AV applications. It's a proposed standard. Well, Barco's joined, and that's a huge deal because they're the biggest pro AV company, $1 billion pro AV company that's decided to join this. That means that, companies like Epson and Sony's Display Group and LG and Samsung, other companies like that are probably going to take notice. And also it's possible that signal routing and distribution companies will take notice of this. I do think Ipmx gained a lot of traction with that announcement last week.
Yeah, they did. It's very cool. I'm excited to see more standards kind of come into play in our industry. I'm interested to see.
I'll say this. There's a lot of talk about standards, and there's a lot of talk about us needing standards. But the internet has some standards, but most of the internet is not standard either. If you think about it, there's some standards as the way computers connect, but not the way. Think about all the applications that work on Chrome but don't work on Safari or don't work on Firefox. Even though there's theoretical back-end standards, look at the internet. WordPress isn't a standard. It's an ecosystem. It's 50% of the websites. The other 50% are 20 other companies. Those are ecosystems, not standards. So even though theoretically the standard is going to solve the problem, we still got the user interface issue, the control system. We still got the issue of all the other gear. So I even don't think that this, if it becomes a standard, is going to solve all of our problems. I think that this is just like one thing that just happens in our industry. So I don't want people to think that, that this is going to be the end all to be all. It'll be interesting to watch, and I'm excited because I like you said, I agree with you 100%. I like it when standards come in here because it allows our industry to grow a little faster. But that doesn't mean that control systems are going to be standardized. It doesn't mean that cabling is going to be standardized. It doesn't mean that video formats are going to be standardized. So that's still going to be an issue.
At the end of the day, I think I just want integrators' lives to be easier, and that's why I push for them so hard. But speaking of all of that, our other sponsor/partner, Legrand, they have many brands under their umbrella. And Vadio, the Intellishot actually won a 2022 NSCA Excellent in Product Innovation Award for its ease of customization category, which is very exciting. So NSCA, Gary, you know them, you love them. They're elite, they're pretty much a leading nonprofit in our industry, and they represent the commercial integration industry very well.
And they represent integrators. They're only about integrators. So this is
only about integrators.
Integrators are giving a brand, not just anyone.
Yes.
So this is a good deal for them. And also you don't have to pay to be in those awards. These are not pay for play awards. So these are, this is a good award for them. And of course the Intellishot, everyone uses it. You go to any classroom, you go to any around any K through 12 or higher education, you're going to find it somewhere. It's a very popular product and in meeting spaces as well.
Yes. And so the Intellishot having kind of like this blue ribbon on it now is going to make it even greater of a pick for integrators. Even more of them, we're going to see them reach for this. So very exciting for Legrand and for Vadio. So we are very, very happy for them. But yeah, one more piece of Barco news before I want us to move on. Did you see, Gary, the ClickShare is now also a digital signage player?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. You got a bunch of ClickShares and conference rooms out there. They've added player capability. And what they did was they actually partnered with software player companies. So they partner with companies that build software player products, right? That don't require specific kinds of computers like Windows or Android. So when the rooms are not in use, you can throw up digital signage content. You want to have company-wide messages, you can throw up digital signage content. Logical. By the way, we aren't talking a lot about our ISE news because we have an event at 2:00 today all about ISE. I want to keep reminding you about that we shot over 800 videos at ISE. We shot over 1,200 photos. We published over 180. I counted them yesterday. Over 180 stories on the microsite in PR form or in written form. On our on ISE, and so there's a lot of news, a lot of stuff happening. A lot of news. A lot of it you're going to see again at InfoComm, but we're going to, one of the things that happened is Epson, they made some big announcements, short throw lens, short throw projectors that the Microsoft Teams front row spec is going to love these projectors, and I know we have an interview from Epson that we want to end the show with today, right? And we're going to pop that up, Steph?
Yeah, we're going to pop that up right now.
All right. Y'all enjoy this interview.
Hey, everybody. Steph Beckett here at ISE 2022 here at the Epson stand. And I'm here with Mark Roslin. How's it going?
Doing very well. Thank you.
Y'all have had quite a busy stand. So it has been quite a busy first day of the show. So how does it feel to be back in person at a real, actual trade show?
It's very exciting. It's actually my first time at ISE, having taken over the business during COVID. So it's really great to see not only the products and the displays, but also the interaction with customers and showgoers. So it's fantastic.
You can't beat the face-to-face interaction at all.
No, absolutely not.
So tell me a little bit about what you guys are showing and what's new this year. I mean, what's new, like there's plenty new since COVID, but y'all are showing a new product. Yep. And you are, encouraging just like a lot of different installations for that one product, which is really, really cool. So tell me a little bit more. Yeah,
it's a great question. In general, we're seeing a huge swell of interest in projection and technology and an opportunity for that across a wide range of applications. So the product that we're showcasing and launching at this show is a 20,000 lumen, super bright, super small, light projector. That's the smallest and lightest in its class. So it's very exciting for rental and staging applications where we're seeing a big increase in activity with shows coming back online, both here in Europe but also in the Americas. So it's a very exciting time for industry that was very hard impacted. But beyond that kind of rental and staging, moving production type of installation projectors, we're seeing a lot of activity in fixed install exhibitions like art museums, galleries, migrating more to a more immersive kind of experience where it's mixed media and things like that of that nature, where you're seeing projection being applied to create really amazing experiences. And beyond that, there's a lot of activity in corporate with hybrid collaboration and the need for large displays that are flexible, wide aspect ratio, where you can accommodate all the content that needs to be shared and shown. And even in the home where ultra short throw laser TV, projection TV is starting to gain a lot of traction. It's the fastest growing category in home displays. And it's a way to bring in that large screen experience into your living room, because now the projectors are pumping out enough light to overcome any ambient. So it's really transformative time for projection, a lot of exposure and a lot of excitement across all of these different use cases.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted to talk about this trend because this really small, really beautiful projector that y'all are releasing at this show, I wanted to reiterate that this is for a rental and staging application or for a stationary application, which is really great. So is this like more of a trend where we are developing one product that can be used in multiple verticals, multiple use cases? Is this something that we'll continue to see in the industry?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously the projectors are a very broadly applicable technology, and in this particular case, we spent a lot of time researching and talking to customers to understand their needs. So in terms of the rental and staging requirements, we really delve deep into what it takes to be successful in that segment. And it's things like serviceability, the size and weight bears a huge implications because you have to haul this stuff around. And if it's half as heavy and a 60% smaller, you can fit a lot more projectors and ship them around the country a lot more easily. But that also translates very well for fixed installation, because now you can get 20,000 lumens of light output from a very small chassis that can be very discreetly mounted in a fixed installation, so that you're showcasing the display and the content rather than worrying about looking at the machine that's creating that experience. So the benefits that we deliver to one market translate into others just as well. So it's a very exciting time, and it's that product is a testament to Epson's kind of core DNA of continuing to innovate and improve the performance, and also driving small, compact, and precise technology.
I would also say there's a trend within Epson of really working to make sure things are easy to use and easy to install as well. So there's an equal kind of idea of making it easy on the integrators and easy on the end users as well. So will we continue seeing that kind of trend of manufacturers really, really taking time to understand what end users and integrators need and want to be able to, for integrators it's all about making money, what's going to take the less time, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's our core philosophy is we do a lot to innovate on the hardware, but we're also looking to innovate on the experience, both the user experience, but also the integrator experience, and how easy is it to work with our products to create really amazing experiences. So what you see behind me is just an example of that, and we actually have 3 stations here highlighting that, the ease of use, where we're equipping our projectors with cameras, and other technology and software tools that allow you to easily stack the images on top of each other. Something that took 30-40 minutes before by a trained technician can now be accomplished automatically within 2 to 3 minutes with 2 projectors just stacking on top of each other, or tiling them together to create a very large image. So all of these developments are oriented around making the installer's life easier the first time, and then to support regular upkeep of the installation, because as you know, things happen over time, and you want to maintain the great image quality and the experience throughout the lifetime of the projector, and these kind of tools are really designed to enable that and make that much easier.
Well, and taking that time and doing that research and developing a product or products based off of that research is how you become a household name. Right. So that is kind of the story of how Epson has become like the name synonymous with projector.
Yeah, absolutely. We're world's #1 projector brand. I think the stat is 4 out of 10 projectors globally are Epson, and then in the Americas where we operate, it's 6 out of 10. So yes, we are the preeminent manufacturer of projection technology, and a lot of that has to do with our just constant, diligent pursuit of optimize and improve performance and innovation in the product.
Is there anything else you want to mention for the folks at home who couldn't make it to ISE this year?
No, we're sorry to miss you. Would have loved to see you here at the show. It's really exciting to interact with folks in person. But if you miss ISE, there's also Infocom just around the corner, and we will be there with a lot of similar solutions displayed. So it's another opportunity to interact with us and see our products in action.
And where can people go to find more information?
Epson.com is a great place to start.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. It was great catching up with you, and great to meet you finally in person.
Likewise, thank you so much.
And for more information on our end, don't forget you can go to ravepubs.com/ISE 2022 for all your ISE coverage. As you can see, I had just the time of my life at ISE 2022. I love doing interviews. I love doing booth tours. I have such a great time like researching every company and getting to go and talk to them about the things that they know so well. So if you want to join and see everything else that I had a great time doing at ISE 2022 and for a chance to see some of the products that Gary and I and Emily Dean and Sarah Abrams all picked out as a few of the ones that we really thought stood out to us, do join us. It's going to be at 2 Eastern. So that means it's going to be at 11 Pacific time. So please come. It's going to be great. It's an hour and a half long. You can join by going to launch, LAVNCH.com. And don't forget, go to Infocom and infocomshow.org and register for Infocom 2022, June 8th through 10th. And please use our code rAVE, RAVE, for free entry. And we hope to see you there. And this has been another episode of rAVe TV. Gary had to run. He is just busy. You know, everything happens in a New York minute. So he's got to go. But this has been our show. I will see you next Wednesday, same time, same place, noon Eastern, right here on ravepubs.com. Thank you so much. Bye.
It's the weekly show about Pro AV with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's rAVe TV.